So have you watched Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
Ugh, yes, have you?
No. Should I?
No, I mean Austin, honestly, it might be the worst movie I've ever seen. I
The
don't
worst
it.
movie you've ever seen?
It's certainly in the conversation. I don't know if it's number
Oh
one.
my
I've seen
God.
some bad movies, but a lot of times when I've seen bad movies, it's been with the expectation
Dude,
that they're
you love
bad.
bad
I
movies. I
do,
mean,
and when you know they're going to be bad going in, you can kind of, it's not. Look, Happy Gilmore's not like The Room. Like it
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's got money behind it. It's got actors behind it. It's not like bad movie bad.
It's
However,
got Hall of Fame football players behind it
it
and their
it
dads.
has a shit. It has too many cameos. Really, what it
Okay.
ended up being.
I can't believe I just heard those words come out of your mouth because
It. I
you love
do.
Marvel,
Yeah,
you love all
popcorn
the
cinema.
popcorn.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
you love it.
So,
Yeah, and I assume you
and
love Happy Gilmore
I
because who
love
doesn't?
Happy Gilmore, and
Sure.
that might also be part of the reason why
Okay.
I'm kind of not into two. Because, look, I know every moment of Happy Gilmore of just one, and unfortunately, if I didn't, I would know every moment of one after watching two, because the number of cutbacks to showing actual footage from Happy
What?
Gilmore is obscene. They do it like half the movie. It's crazy, and they bring everybody back. So they bring Shooter back, and they bring Chubbs, even though he's dead, and his wife, and
The
all.
actor's dead as well, right? I mean, we got
Yeah,
a double
Carl
whammy.
Weathers. Carl Weathers, yeah, exactly. But what they did
R.I.P.
was they just were too focused on the past and how Happy Gilmore went, and not enough about making a movie that was good in its own right. Also, if the humor was halfway decent, it would have been acceptable. But like it's not even
No,
lowbrow
oh
humor.
no,
I like lowbrow humor. It's not
you do.
about
You love it.
toilet humor or any of that stuff. It's about what they did and said was not funny. It was not.
Yeah.
It was like they just wanted to get the movie out there for like tax credit purposes or something. I don't, or just to screw around with his friends, because that's the other thing is there are like five Sandlers in the movie, like his family.
Oh, great.
It just, and they're not actors, so they're just playing random bit parts. That's kind of like, oh, get it? That's his cousin, or it's like it's just not. And plus, okay, so Travis Kelsey, which was a big, draw for a lot of
Sure. The
people,
only
was
reason
that
why I would ever watch it.
I probably was overhyped by Chiefs fans or whoever about like Travis Kelsey's the best part of this movie, or he's got this hilarious. He cracks like one. He's a waiter that says like two lines, and they were funny, but like it was a brief moment in a
Sure.
really
Sure.
just long and slog, and it was not good. It was not a good movie. Do not recommend it. 0 stars.
Welcome in to It's Always Sunny in Cheese Kingdom. I'm Austin. Find me on X, at Real Bird Lawyer, Bird Law Expert on Blue Sky. I hesitated because I'm doing the Ron Burgundy thing here. I always
Yeah.
just read from the script, always, every time. And I said you can find me on Twitter. And then I remembered that I'm calling it X now because that's what it deserves to be called. Cesspool that it is. But here with me, as always, my co-host Taylor at Taylor_Wit on X, and IASIC on Blue Sky. What's going on, bud?
It's great to be back with you, buddy. I mean, we were back last week, but like, there's just, potting's, it's a lot of fun for you and I. We get to bullshit with each other and joke around and make little jokes about what's going on in the world, and we enjoy that. So I'm happy to be back here with you talking about Chiefs football.
I'm happy to hear that the little jokes that we make are funnier than any joke in Happy Gilmore 2.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
feel like that being the case, we should be making the millions of dollars that everyone associated with that production received for making apparently the worst film ever made. I'm so glad I asked you about it because I have not seen it. Now I probably won't see it,
It
but
was the biggest Netflix opening domestically in the United States for any movie drop ever.
wow.
Like 46 million the first night they watched or they dropped it or something. I mean,
Wow.
look, everybody loves Happy Gilmore. Everybody was giving it a shot. I was always going to watch it. So like that doesn't really, I'm sure of the 46 million, hopefully 45 million are like me and like, oh my God, that was the worst movie ever. But, you know. What can you do?
What can you do? Unlike Happy Gilmore 2, we have a great show for you guys today. We've got news, and then we will have what is sure to be a lengthy and fruitful conversation with friend of the podcast, Rany Jazayerli. We last heard from him the week before the Super Bowl. A lot has happened since then. So we will talk to Rany about that. We'll get caught up. We'll try not to hurt anybody's feelings, including our own. But first, let's just jump right into the training camp news. And since we're kind of working our way back into shape, rounding into midseason form, let's just keep the format from the regular season. We'll just start with the injury news, and then we'll kind of roll into the other news, and then we'll kind of roll out into sort of some news adjacent news that isn't really news, but slow news day news. Injuries. Hollywood Brown has an ankle injury. I mean, Andy says, I don't think it's too bad, but we'll see how it goes. Chiefs didn't practice today, so we're kind of, in a holding pattern with him. It just sucks because, the guy got hurt on the first play of the preseason when he debuted with the Chiefs last year, missed almost the entire season, came on strong at the end of the regular season into the playoffs, gave the Chiefs kind of what we were expecting him to give the Chiefs when he signed. And then we didn't get to see a whole lot of him. And I mean, it has to be said, a guy with a significant injury history. So kind of a bummer.
Really big bummer. Unfortunately, there seem to be certain athletes in every type of sport that just have the injury bug bite them more than others. And he has a lengthy injury history. And that's not just with the Chiefs, that's throughout his whole NFL career so far with stops with the Ravens and Cardinals. And it's not a big one yet. He didn't break his ankle. He didn't do anything that is, going to last too far into the 2025 season so far. But anytime he can't complete fully, whether it's practice or training camp or whatever, because of an injury, it does just give you a little bit more pause. I mean, fortunately, the Chiefs haven't invested a ton into Hollywood. 7 million last year and a couple million this year. They understand that he should be on a 1 year deal until he can play a full season healthy. That makes total sense. But the promise of Hollywood Brown is pretty enticing. Fast veteran wide receiver that has got some real skill set, and we just hope we can see that for, if not all 17 games, quite a bit of.
In other injury news, hopefully nothing serious, but Xavier Worthy went into the concussion protocol. It's so funny whenever we talk about concussions that we talk about them as being like minor injuries when, they're like a traumatic brain injury. But they're so commonplace in football, and they so rarely result in multi-week absences that we
Yeah.
kind of just write them off. I think this would be his first concussion in the NFL. So I don't know what his history was like in college. He's obviously a smaller guy. Sounds like he just got his bell rung. He's in the protocol. Hopefully he will clear that quickly and get back to work because he's having a great camp. And just kind of threw this on at the end. Sky Moore has a hamstring injury. I mean, Sky Moore's not going to make the team. Sky Moore's not going to make any NFL roster, if I had to guess, based on what we've seen from his body of work in the NFL so far, but certainly can't help that he has a hamstring injury. We're going to talk about a couple of guys that are, pushing him for a roster spot. And if he's competing for wide receiver 6 or 7, if the team carries that many wide receivers, boy, this is not a good way for him to secure that spot.
No, not at all. No, you've got to make yourself available. You've got to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves, and this is doing the exact opposite of that. Just to tie a bow up on Worthy, there's a great website called draftsharks.com, which does injury tracking better than any other injury site I've ever seen. And so it'll give you all the documented injuries of a player throughout their college and NFL career. Worthy has had 3 documented injuries before this concussion. They were a finger, a ankle, and a hamstring. So
Okay.
no head issues that we've seen so far from him. So that's always it's always a good sign. You don't want to see a guy going through. Of course, there have been several high profile multi concussion, Chris Olave and Tua and stuff like
Jordan
that.
Reed
That Jordan Reed, yeah,
going way
absolutely.
back.
Yes, exactly. But so hopefully Worthy gets out of that. But yeah, I mean, Sky, like you said, he's probably not going to make this team. He's probably not going to make another team. But if he was going to, it was going to be in a situation where maybe a couple guys above him got hurt and he was kind of slotted in by default, which is what he would need to make the team at this point. And if he's going to be, if he's already going to have a hamstring injury or something, I mean, he's got to not only be there in practice, he's got to pop, he's got to flash, he's got to
Yeah.
be a reason for them to select him, and he's not giving them that yet. So I think probably we won't have. If I were to put the over under on episodes of this show where we mention Sky Moore's name, and I was going to put that over under at 2.5 for the rest of time, how would you take, the over or the under?
Well, I mean, I'm very tempted to take the under, but for the rest of time, that's a lot of shows, and
We might look back and
he did participate in two iconic postseason plays,
he did, which we
and
will be reviewing at some
and
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
retrospectively,
yeah, yeah,
now
yeah.
if you clarify that the over under is set on things that Sky Moore is going to do in the future and not
Yeah,
things that Sky Moore has done in the past,
yeah,
I'm easily taking the under.
yeah.
We're going to talk about him one more time when he gets cut from the team.
Right, correct. That was why I did 2.5, because I figured,
Yeah.
there's it's not long for this world. So yes, good luck to the kid, but doesn't seem like he's going to be sticking around.
Let's move to the opposite of Sky Moore, which is hype trains.
Hmm.
And this is always really fun. I know we started this off last week. This is just kind of how training camp goes. We get hyped up about players. Sometimes it pans out. Sometimes, I mean, like I don't want to be the guy that throws cold water on every training camp hype story. And I know you're not as well.
Sure.
Uncharacteristically, you really
Yeah,
wanted to tamp down on some of the hype last
I,
week, but
I
like
did.
Patrick Mahomes, okay? Like Patrick Mahomes was a training camp hype story. I understand
Yeah.
he's also a first round draft pick. There was a lot of reason for there to be buzz about Patrick Mahomes. Okay, but like his first training camp, people were sending videos out, and the Chiefs, like every person in the Chiefs organization, was leaking to reporters, like, "Oh my God, you guys should have
Yes.
seen what was happening when you guys weren't at practice, like the evening sessions,
Uh-huh.
everything that we're doing off the books, off the radar that the public doesn't get to see. Holy shit, like this guy's amazing." So sometimes that works out. A lot of
Yeah.
times it doesn't, but sometimes it does. The one it's going to work out on is Josh Simmons. I mean,
Yes.
like the drumbeat at this point is getting to be outrageous. You just have coaches, players, media, fans,
Hmm.
anybody that sees him just says, "Oh, I mean, the Chiefs got a steal. This was the guy that probably would have been the first tackle taken and the best tackle in the draft if he hadn't gotten hurt, and he's healthy and he's showing that ability. And boy, I mean, this is the third, probably at least the third year in a row that the Chiefs have taken, a tackle that we had high expectations for. I have acquired a tackle. Last year was Kingsley Suamataia,
Yeah.
who we heard might have been a decent pick at 32, and then she's got him at 64, and
Yeah.
then he gets benched like 4 games in. Wanya Morris the year before that, not quite as high a pick, but
I think that
this
Bengals game was week
feels
2. I think he got
yeah,
benched week 2. I mean, it
sure,
was
that's
instant.
fair. Yeah, I mean, this feels really different and in a positive way.
It does. It does. I don't think this nickname is one that I want to continue with. However, you said let's go to the opposite of Sky Moore, so I'm going to call
Oh
him
yeah.
Groundless for today.
Okay.
That's the opposite of Sky Moore.
I
Uh,
like it.
yeah, yeah, sure. So, I mean, first of all, though, it's not just training camp hype. It is like you were saying, it is ubiquitous. It is across the board from anybody who has and you can tell because it's neutral parties. It's
Right.
not just
Right, right,
Chiefs
right.
fans or Chiefs coaches or players that are talking up Groundless. It is literally the entire NFL media spectrum is like, oh my God, like we let the Chiefs get a franchise left tackle at 32. Like we let them just basically
Hmm.
trade up for free. Like that's essentially the type of player he is. Like you said, probably would have been the first tackle off the board. I've seen a lot of people making fun of New England who picked the first tackle off the board at 6 and being like, man, you guys really blew it by not taking Josh Simmons there. I mean, groundless, excuse me. Yeah, no, it's cool and it's fun. And I was anti-hype train last week. I am on board with the hype train once it becomes a pattern and once it becomes more of like, like this is not just wouldn't this be cool? This is not just he showed up in shape or these type of like,
Sure, last
you
week it
know,
was just you were encouraged that he was healthy.
that he was healthy. That's what I
Yeah,
wanted to see was him
right.
being out there. Now he's like dominating. I mean, he got into a little fight earlier yesterday, got into a little fist fight with
Sure, you
Gelati,
love to
Ashton
see that.
Gelati,
Yeah,
and you do
right.
love to see that in training camp. It was their third straight day of pads. You figured the
Out in
guys were
the
getting
100
sick of each
degree,
other. Yes,
100%
out in the
humidity heat in St.
awful,
Joe.
awful
Yep,
St. Joe heat.
yep,
So I mean,
yep.
yeah, I'm a big fan of groundless. I think he's going to make everybody really, really happy that for once, the Chiefs picked a guy in the first round, and not for once. They've done it a couple times, but it's definitely been a little bit since they cashed in on a draft pick quickly. They've gotten good draft picks, and they've gotten guys that have, I mean, I remember even McDuffie was hurt for the first, what was it, 6, 7 games or whatever. Didn't he get hurt
Yeah,
right out of
yeah,
training camp?
he did. Yep.
And Karloftis took a while to come around. Worthy took a
He
while to
actually
come
got hurt on
around.
that Arizona turf that
That's
also hurt
right.
Butker.
That's
And
right. Week
then,
one. Yes,
yep,
yes. So, I mean, point being, if he hits the ground running and is the starting left tackle week one and isn't getting worked over, I mean, we also have to remember he's going to be put through the ringer early
oh, of
on.
course. Yep,
The
he is.
Chargers in Brazil week one for a rookie is crazy. And then coming around week two to play the Eagles. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, the
that's
Eagles. Yeah,
that's crazy. That's a
that's
crazy start, and if he gets through it without getting immediately benched, he'll at least be better than Kingsley. So, yeah, no, it'll be fun. We'll see how it goes.
the offensive line that was rolled out today because Jawan Taylor is still hurt was Simmons the left tackle, Kingsley Suamati at left guard, and then of course Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith at center and right guard, and then Jalen Moore, the addition from San Francisco, at right tackle. What do you think of the offensive line lineup that
I
they were
I
rolling out?
think there's a chance this is the best offensive line that the Chiefs
You think
can
that's the best
put
five?
out there. I you
Yeah.
know I mean this is all about number one. First of all, the left tackle is solidified. There's just no
Yeah,
more
right.
battle.
I
This
mean,
is
like
now a
the
right tackle
battle's
battle.
over, right?
The bat,
Exactly, right?
yeah,
Like
it's shifted to
that's
the right.
pretty encouraging that the
Yes,
Rook came in and like, all right,
just took
it's
it.
my
Just
job.
took it. Yeah.
Don't even bother.
Yes. And so, it's not that I think Juwan Taylor is necessarily a bad player, although maybe the jury's out on that, but he's frustrating. Even
Yeah,
when he plays well, he still does dumb stuff. He's
yeah,
the number one penalty player in the NFL over several years, and that dates
yeah,
back to his Jacksonville time. He was a
right.
high penalty guy in Jacksonville, so clearly that's not something that the Chiefs, are doing wrong with him or whatever. He just doesn't quite understand some of the nuances of not getting in trouble on the line in the NFL. And it's one of those things. If Jalen Moore plays well, if he kind of comes in there while Juwan is banged up, and they watch him play right tackle, and they feel like, oh, he doesn't do anything worse than Juwan Taylor at this point in either of their careers. They paid Jalen Moore a lot of money. And I know they paid Juwan a lot more money than that, but
Yeah,
they would not feel that wasteful. If they're going to bench Juwan Taylor, what they're certainly not going to do is bench him for like a journeyman, like just some random backup tackle just to bench Juwan Taylor. What they're going to do is they're going to bring in a guy that has a little bit of pedigree, that has a little bit of cash behind him, and they're going to say, that's the guy that we're going to bench you for. Because, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Jalen Moore, I don't know much about, like, expectation wise. I don't know if he's supposed to be a better version. I mean, a better right tackle than Juwan Taylor. It's too early in camp
but
to
he gives you
tell, but
options.
he gives you options. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are ready to just move on from Juwan Taylor
Yeah,
in general. And if this makes that possibility happen quicker, could be cool.
could be cool. Let's talk about one of the wide receivers. A lot of guys generating buzz, but this was a surprising one. Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah,
Apparently quite a bit of buzz to make the roster. Niho Ramijo also appears to be a lock to make the roster based on the fact that he's, according to Dave Tobe, far and away the best return guy on the team, which if you saw Ramijo play last year would not surprise you because he seemed highly competent in the return game. A little bit surprising because he ran a 4.6 40 and I mean, you don't have to be the fastest guy to return punts and kicks, but like that's like actively slow at this point.
yeah.
Tyquan Thornton is a guy that in the very limited time he's been in the NFL, the one thing that he has flashed is speed. He ran a 4.28, which is hilarious. I mean,
Hmm.
he was taken actually, I think the pick before Sky Moore, if memory serves.
Yeah,
The
the
Chiefs had
Chiefs
traded down, and the
traded. Yep.
Patriots
Hmm.
took Tyquan Thornton with that pick.
Hmm.
Ironic that they're both on the same team and may both be off the team.
Yeah,
But the higher draft pick might has a better chance at this point to stick. It seems like maybe as a returner, although it sounds like Ramijo's maybe being ticketed as the primary for that role. But man, just the idea of having him, Worthy, Hollywood,
jeez.
with Rasheed and Travis, the old slow guys, old slash slow and or slow guys, running crossers or whatever, in the flats. The idea of three guys that could run a legitimate 4-2 is very funny to me.
We're gonna remake Tyreek Hill in the aggregate. They're basically they're moneyballing this shit. I do want to put you on the spot very quickly. Can
Yeah.
you please repronounce Remigio's first name for
I think I said Niho.
me? Yeah,
It's just Nico.
yeah.
I was
I didn't know
I
if it
was
was a
too
bit.
Remigioing
Yes, yeah, you were
Niho
overcompensating because you
Remigio.
knew that. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually really like calling him Niho Remigio. I think that's really funny. But
Placido
yes,
Domingo.
I didn't know if that was a little bit that was not aware of, or
It
if
was
that
not
was
a
just
bit.
a funny.
I
Okay,
just
it should be
am
a bit now. In
I'm
fact,
just
I
it's a
probably
bit.
will call him
His name
Niho
is
several times
Niho
now.
Remigio from now
Yes.
on.
I love the Thornton hype, and I think that if both he and Sky Moore were on the Patriots right now instead of the Chiefs, Patriots fans would be saying, I think we need to give Sky Moore a chance and
Yeah,
kick
absolutely,
Tyquan Thornton off
100%.
this team. You know, it's a fresh scenery. It's just something that he's got the speed. If you're gonna make a team kind of out of the blue or at least on the fringe, you at least need an elite trait somewhere.
Yep.
You
Yep.
need to do something better than a lot of your peers can do. And running a 4.28 is a great way to make an NFL roster, even if you're not really doing much else with it. The potential there is nice. And yes, Dave Tobe did say that our friend Niho Remigio is the best returner on the roster far and away. He said he is light years ahead of where everyone else is return wise, which really does bode well for his chances to make the roster, especially if opening day, if the Rasheed
Yeah.
Rice news comes
Shoot.
down and if they go ahead and ding him for a couple games, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that both Thornton and Remigio are making this team as like wide receivers 5 and 6. I think that's pretty well, pretty easy to see. If they don't quite suspend him right away, or if the Chiefs have to make a decision about if he's not on the exempt list and they have to, bring in another wide receiver, they might also kind of do what they did last year and just overload a little bit on the wide receivers and get a seventh one in there because they know that, well, even though it's 7 on opening day, it's probably going to be 6 here before too long. So, yeah, I think I like both guys' chances of making the 53. I think both of those guys are both by that I mean Mejio and Thornton. They're showing what they need to show in training camp so far.
Well, and that almost kind of it almost wraps up the wide receiver battle, right? Because obviously Hollywood, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Worthy are all going to make the team, and obviously Rice will be on the roster if he's not suspended. So
And
you add
Royals,
and Royals. So you add, Thornton and Remigio to that, and that's
yeah,
7 guys. And
that's right.
let's assume Rice is suspended. They probably break camp with 6. Those are your 6, and then either Remigio or Tyquan Thornton, is probably going to be the odd man out when Rice comes back from his suspension.
Yep,
So
sounds like a decent plan to me. That's a pretty damn good wide receiver room. I
it
mean,
is.
it's it's maybe lacking your like top 1A talent, although Rice is showing he has potential to maybe
Yeah, I
get
mean,
there.
when Worthy has shown some exciting potential as well. So,
Yeah.
yep. Speaking of exciting potential, we gotta go to the defensive side. Like I just have to, I always comb through to find a guy on the defensive side because we can't talk about offense all the time, especially the way this team has played the last couple of years. Like we don't deserve to talk about the offense all the time. I
No,
mean, the offense doesn't deserve to be
no,
talked about all the time.
that's right.
A steady drumbeat on Omar Norman Lott. He obviously was the Chiefs' highest drafted defensive player this year. Chuck Amenahu was on the stand the other day and said he's very explosive. I know it's early on, but he's able to grab wrists. It took me 3 to 4 years to be able to do that. Chuck has had a good career. We just talked last week about how he needs to stay healthy and out of trouble so that we can see him
Yeah.
over a full 16 game season. He's had a good career and he's had some real moments of high level NFL play. So it's always encouraging to see, a guy like that hype up a rookie. And before you tell me that, every savvy veteran player is going to hype up a rookie, I offer a counterexample in the form of Justin Jefferson. Have you seen some
No,
of the stuff he said about JJ McCarthy?
I haven't.
Oh my God. So last week they put Justin Jefferson in front of a camera, as you do. He's the
Sure.
most famous and most successful best player on the team.
Yeah, it's face of the
Uh
franchise.
he basically was like, you got to remember that he's basically a rookie,
Yep.
like you can't judge him like a veteran player. He hasn't had the
Mm,
reps,
mm.
etc., so on and so forth. Just like him
He's
going on
bad.
for literally like 3 or 4 minutes, just dumping all these platitudes about like, oh, we got to give him time, we got to give him time, with not
Uh-huh.
a single positive statement in there. So
Uh-huh.
yes, that is code for he sucks right now,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to say that, but like I'm going to tell you he sucks. I'm just not going to come out and say it. That's not what's happening in Chiefs camp. Omar Norman looks like he might be a legit player, and the defensive line can always use a little infusion of talent, so that would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. A defensive tackle is not really a guy that jumps off the page as far as sexiness goes when you draft players. It's not a player that you normally go into
And that
camp
pick was a
thinking
fairly unsexy pick. Let's
it
be honest.
it was for sure. And those second rounders kind of had their own drama with, getting all their contracts figured out and all that stuff. But he it represents youth on the defensive line, which is something that, I mean, it's basically Chris Jones and a bunch of nobodies. It has been for a while. And they really do need some playmakers on the interior defensive line. And if he becomes a guy, and especially if he becomes a guy early, it really does give that defense some extra kind of wiggle room to, not have to rely on their superstar. Basically, like I always felt the last couple years that if Chris Jones wasn't in on the play, if he was taking a breather or whatever, that like, all right, well, guess nothing cool is going to happen now on defense
Right.
this play. Like it was very felt
Or
very
you need the
one-dimensional.
secondary to do something
Well,
cool.
right, nothing cool from the defensive line is going to
Right.
happen on this play. Yeah, and anytime they can add a playmaker to that line, hopefully is a good thing. I love Chuck being effusive there. I think that's shows that first of all, also shows he's getting along. Like their
Yeah, right.
camaraderie seems high, so that's good too.
Yeah, it is. Let's move into the segment of news that isn't really news, but is slow news day news, and that's Madden ratings. I know every year, you have to go on a rant against Madden, and I assume that that is still the case.
Sure.
I I recognize that this is not news, and I also recognize that from a video game perspective, which is rating various traits that we like to quantify, like arm strength and accuracy, things that you just like to be able to do in video games. I recognize that these are not terribly relevant to the business of playing NFL quarterback. However, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen both inducted into the 99 club, so 99 is the highest rating in Madden. They're both in there, and they both deserve to be in there. To be clear, both
Absolutely.
fantastic players. Lamar should have been a three-time MVP. Josh Allen, his first MVP award this past season. Both great players in the regular season and in video games. Joe Burrow, third with a 96 rating. So Burrow, Lamar, Allen, all ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who is fourth, the 95 rating. Uh, I feel like I'm more fired up about this than you, which is strange because you're always angry about Madden and various Madden things, not necessarily the ratings, but I, I don't know, man. It feels a little disrespectful to me. It feels a little bit like, making Tom Brady at 95. Um, I don't know what Tom Brady's Madden rating was
I mean, it was never a
after.
99.
Oh, that's funny. We and
I don't think
he.
so. I should say I didn't play some of the later
I
Maddens.
guess I don't know. I mean, that would be surprising, and that would also be extremely disrespectful. But at the same time, that 99 overall rating, that's going to take into account some things that Tom Brady doesn't do well.
That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
Tom
Like,
Brady doesn't run well.
no.
Like what are you going to do? The guy's probably the slowest player in the NFL. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean,
You
you
couldn't
can't
really
be a
rate him a
99 if
99.
you're the
No.
slowest player in the NFL. You got to be a
Nope.
98. It doesn't matter how good you are. Maybe like an honorary 99, because like let's be honest, I don't think. I guess I don't know how the 99 overall rating is achieved, but that's got to be cosmetic, right? Like that's not a an aggregate of all of the other ratings that go into a 99 rating. Like they could have probably given him a 99 rating, but still have him be like
Mhm.
a zero in speed or something like that, right? Which shouldn't be possible. I doesn't
I,
matter. We're getting a little far afield here, but tell me how you feel about this.
so usually when I'm bitching about Madden, what I'm bitching about is how mad I am that people care.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
like my
Yeah, that's fair.
because they shouldn't care because it's dumb. It's a dumb video game franchise. They don't do anything different or unique or challenging. They just, take a printing press and print out the new Madden with a different gear on it,
Yeah,
and they
sure.
get you to buy all those stupid little trading cards within Madden, the Madden Ultimate Team, which is like the dumbest thing that any video game's ever done. Anyway, I hate Madden. I hate Madden. But I don't disagree with these ratings. And in fact, if I were to rate all four of these players, the only gripe I might have is I may switch Mahomes 96, Burrow 95, but that's super
Sure. Yeah.
nitpicky.
Yeah.
Um, in general, obviously, I think Lamar and Josh have shown the athletic ability to be rated 99
God,
overall.
they're so good.
They're so good. They're both one man wrecking crews, both of them. And with their feet, with their arms, they're accurate. They win a lot. I mean, not the games that matter, but they certainly win a lot of regular games. I mean, they're really, really, really good. I
Yeah, they
think
are.
we will look back on the Mahomes reign over the NFL and wonder at how Allen and Lamar, as good as they were, didn't get him more than they did when it mattered. But we're not there yet. I do think that Mahomes hasn't really put together 99 tape in 2 years or since 2 seasons. Last year and the year before, he was not a 99 quarterback. They were. So that's fine. Burrow, the getting hurt stuff doesn't really affect Madden ratings as much as you think it would. I mean, guys like CMC and I mean Burrow, frankly, anybody that has long injury histories, if their peak is really high, basically Madden rates on peak. I mean, physical peak. And that's that seems pretty he Burrow's a pretty fucking good quarterback. I mean,
He
he
is. He is
slings it.
pretty good. He's pretty good.
And he is propped up, as we all know, by two unbelievable receivers. And if you put Burrow on the Browns, he certainly would not be a 96. But he's not on the Browns. He's on a team with two number one wide receivers, and it shows. And so, yeah, again, I think this is fine. I think it's dumb to talk or dumb for people to care, but I do like talking about it because I get to rant and rave a little bit. So, works out. Joining us now on the show is, of course, long time. I think you're up to maybe 12 or 13 or so appearances on the show. We super appreciate his time. Rany Jazayerli, at Jazayerli on Twitter. Go ahead and make sure you go follow him. Rany, it has been a minute since we've talked. We, of course, were doing our thing and talking about the Chiefs playoffs, and then things kind of went a different direction than we hoped. How are you doing?
I'm well. It has been too long. I thought I would speak to you 1 week later and
Yeah,
not six and a
Uh,
half months, but
yeah.
we rage
such is
quit.
life. A lot has happened. Yeah, a lot has happened over the last 6.5 months. Some bad, some good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting psyched for the season. I think I'm a little bit more psyched than maybe I thought I would be. Certainly right in the aftermath of the Super Bowl, but yeah, I think this. I mean, I'm feeling as good about the upcoming season as I did going into last year, and without the pressure of a three-peat and the weight of
Yeah.
the world on us. Maybe we'll, with the spotlight off the Chiefs, maybe they'll piss people off even more by winning in the year where they don't make history. So
Yeah, fair enough. So before we move ahead to 2025, which we are also very excited about, we have thoughts. You have thoughts about 2024, about how the Super Bowl went, how just kind of the eulogy of the 2024 season. What's the first thing, closing thoughts about the 2024 season that comes to mind to you?
So, I know you guys have not been particularly interested in rehashing the way the season ended.
It's because we
In
were
part
waiting for
because
you, Randy.
you didn't actually watch how the season ended
No,
Correct.
no. Well, Taylor
all the
did.
way to the
No, I
very
didn't.
end.
No, I
No, he
didn't.
Oh
left
well,
too.
I
you
left at the
also
start of
left
the fourth
early.
quarter.
Sure, that's
Yeah,
fair.
well, Taylor, I will say this. They say that any experience you have in life can be divided into one of two categories. It's either a good time or a good story.
Hmm,
So I
that's
I
good.
know you didn't have a good time in New Orleans in February, but I do hope that you will find a way to turn that into a good story, because the reason why you went down there and sold at least one kidney to pay for it, was because what this team was trying to accomplish is not something you see every day or every year, or every decade. And if it was easy, everyone would have done it. Like, right, nothing ventured, nothing gained. The reason why it would have been so special if they pulled it off is that you could very easily spend $10,000 to go watch your team history and get run out of the building by the second quarter and walk out of the stadium before the game was over, as you did. So I know it wasn't fun, but I salute you for a great adventure and for putting it all out there and trying. You didn't climb to the summit, but at least you tried to climb. So
Rany, that
um,
was like 6 months of therapy just gone. I mean, I that's as good as I've felt about that trip since I went on it. So I appreciate
I hope you find a way to tell the story and build it up, and then you drop the punchline at the end that, oh yeah, we were down 34-0, and you walked out. But let's look back at that, because like
it.
what I'll remember from last season, if we take the bird's eye view of the 2024 Chiefs, this is a team that lost two games all season with their starters. One of which was to the Buffalo Bills in a regular season game in Buffalo, where the Chiefs very clearly were playing with one hand tied behind their back on purpose because they wanted to be as bland as possible to save their good stuff for the inevitable playoff rematch, which occurred exactly the way they designed it and paid off for them when they beat the Bills in the playoffs. They did all of that with one of the worst left tackle situations in franchise history. They did that with, like, Xavier Worthy ended up being their leading receiver in terms of yardage, and he barely saw the ball until the last quarter of the season. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins finished second with 437 yards receiving. All right, their best receiver was, yes, the GOAT tight end, but a 35-year-old GOAT tight end. Like, that team on paper had no business getting out of the first round of the playoffs. And they went to the Super Bowl having lost one game.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, yeah, maybe we got a little ahead of our skis. Maybe we got a little bit too excited about the idea of a three-peat and ignored the very real weaknesses this team had. Or maybe we were just, reminiscing about the previous year when their receiving situation was probably even worse and they
Yep.
won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Um, but oh my God, like, Patrick Mahomes might still be underrated. Like, I'm almost certain he is underrated. If you see literally any list of quarterback rankings in football, which has him anywhere other than number one,
Which you see
like,
plenty of these
yeah,
I
days.
mean, we just
which you
saw
see
with the
plenty
Madden
of.
ratings. We just talked about it.
Exactly,
We're going to
exactly.
see it with the
Madden
NFL
ratings.
Top 100. We see it on Power Rank. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, how absurd is that? Yes, the defense was very, very good, but that was not in any way, shape, or form a Super Bowl team. And they went to the Super Bowl, and no one was particularly surprised. So, like, give them credit for that, and doing it in a year where, like, they had as big a target on their back as any football team in my lifetime has.
Mhm.
Everybody was gunning for the team trying to do something unprecedented. So that was a hell of a year. It sucked the way it ended, but it's going to suck for 31 out of 32 teams. And we were team 31. So it was still a hell of a lot of fun. And there's no reason why they can't be even better this year, because, frankly, on paper last year they weren't that great. So it actually makes it easier to dream that they'll be an even better team this year.
So let's talk about this season, because it feels like, and we've had the pleasure now of talking about some of these stories with you at this point in the off season, the last couple of years, and it feels like, by the time the calendar hits the end of July, beginning of August, we're a week into training camp. It feels like there's almost always like a very clear top story about the Kansas City Chiefs going into the season. Last year, obviously, it was three-peat. The year before that, it was whether they could go back to back and win a third Super Bowl and unequivocally become a dynasty. The year before that, how they would look after they traded Tyreek Hill and the rest of the AFC loaded up. The year before that was whether they'd bounce back from getting their asses kicked by Tampa and or be a one and done, a one-time Super Bowl champion. And whether the story of the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid would be, yeah, they got over the hump once and they never made it back. So this is a broad question, but what is the story with the 2025 Chiefs? Like what is the story of this 2025 team? Because I'm not sure that I know what it is yet.
Good question. I think, I mean, I would describe it as what does a team do when it tried to do something unprecedented and fell just short? Like, it's like it's a post three-peat hangover, kind of a post three-peat attempt hangover. And I feel like it precisely because it's kind of a disjointed story. It's not a very sexy story. It's not something that the NFL can package very easily, even though they obviously think that the Chiefs are still the marquee franchise in the sport, given the fact that they're playing like what eight games on at night or on a Thursday or on
Yeah.
on a non-Sunday afternoon game. But even with that, like I feel like there is definitely an opportunity for this team to almost be under the radar a little bit, and you can't win three in a row now, but how many teams have won three out of four? All right.
Not too many.
There's basically the Patriots, the 2001 to 2004 Patriots, and then you have
Yep.
the 90, what is it,
Cowboys.
92 to 95 Cowboys. I
Uh-huh.
believe those are the only ones that have done three out of four. The Steelers did four out of six,
Right.
Yeah.
but they didn't do three out of four. So that's still very much in play. Obviously, no team none of those other teams went to the Super Bowl in the fourth season. So I mean,
Right.
they still have the chance. They missed out on the chance to have the best. Well, I don't even say. I mean, technically, I guess they did kind of have the best 3-year stretch
They
in
did.
NFL history.
They
It
did.
just
They did.
didn't end. It didn't end in a championship, but they have a chance to have the best 4-year run in NFL history and cap it off with a championship again. I think the whole point of the three-peat was to put your name in the history books as being the best team ever at something, the best team ever over a certain span of time. That
Right.
opportunity is still kind of there this year, and I don't think the main players on this team, the Patrick Mahomes, the Travis Kelce's, even the Andy Reids and Brett Veaches, like I don't think they need a reason uh to to go out there and try to win it all again. Like they have all the motivation in the world to make history. Like they're constantly motivated by that. In part because they've already won a championship or two or three. Like at some point, the only thing that can really move the needle for them is doing something historic. So
Right.
I think there's very much an opportunity for that to happen here. And I think the talent level on this team, as long as the talent pipeline through the draft continues to be there, and I think early returns, certainly the immediate returns on the draft, we were pretty positive on, and the returns since then, if anything, have probably gone up. I see no reason why a combination of you know a very solid talent base on players who are pre-free agents and therefore making below market value, and then the fact that you have a quarterback who's probably $100 million below market value in terms of what he's actually making. Like, there's absolutely no reason why this team cannot be, in the Final Four, and presumably at that point, anything's possible and they could win it again.
On the topic of narratives and history, how much weight do you give to the AFC Championship appearance streak? To me, that's been the consistent, the consistent through line of the Mahomes era is
Mhm.
that
It's
the
crazy.
worst he's ever
7
done
years in a row.
is overtime of the AFC Championship game. And
Mhm.
that's something that, I mean, Brady had the 8 in a row, but of course his more of a mid-career streak. He did that from that he was already in his 30s by the time that streak was gone. I just wonder, is that maybe what we're going to look back on, once the Chiefs finally end their dominant run and kind of use that as like the pillar of the dynasty of like, look how many consecutive AFC championship games they went to? Because to me, it's crazy.
No, I absolutely agree. I was going to say, I mean, that to me might be the defining, it's certainly the thing I look at every year. Like, to me, the bare minimum that the Chiefs have to accomplish in order to make the season not a failure. I'm not even going to say a success, as this is how
Mm-hmm.
spoiled are, but at least be not a
Mm-hmm.
failure is they have to make it to the AFC Championship game.
Yep.
Because you know what? They don't have that record. It's absurd to me that like
Yeah.
7 is not the record, but that
It's
we all
crazy.
remember when the Patriots did that. And it's like, how is this possible? This team has been to, it was 7 and then 8. The eighth, of course, was the Chiefs' first year. Like there was one
Yeah.
glorious year where they
They,
overlap. But
they
when they
passed.
got to 7, and it's like, how on earth this team's been to 7 AFC Championship games in a row. The Chiefs have been to 1 in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And now here we are, and we have a chance to tie that record this year and break it. Like to me, is short of an actual Super Bowl championship. The accomplishment that matters most to me is continuing that streak,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Both because we'll tie, but also because we have the opportunity to break it next year. Like to be able to take a record that just it wouldn't. It's not just it seemed unbreakable, seemed absurd. Like that it
Yes.
existed in the first place 8 times in a row. Like you didn't lose a single just random fluky playoff game before the AFC Championship seems impossible. And the Chiefs have a chance, a very legitimate chance, to break that record. And I would argue against overall uh, more difficult competition
Yeah.
at the top of the AFC than the Patriots faced during their stretch. I mean, you guys may have seen the stat.
DVOA
Was it
stat.
was it DVO? Was it Benjamin Solak who tweeted
Yeah.
out that like the two best 5-year stretches
Mm-hmm.
by any NFL team that did not make the Super Bowl
Yeah.
since the Super Bowl began. Number one is the 2020 to 2024 Buffalo Bills, and
Mm-hmm.
number two are the 2020 to 2024 Baltimore Ravens.
Yep. That is a Patrick
And
Mahomes tweet if I've ever seen
that I mean, I just tweeted out the LeBron James "This is my
it.
life" meme because
Yeah.
like
That's
this
perfect.
that's what I just look at. I'm like, how has this become my life that we've become the destroyer of worlds?
Yeah.
We've become the crusher of dreams. That there are cities out there whose children cry themselves to sleep at night because of us.
Yeah.
Like, how is this possible? So that's where we are. So I would argue, the Patriots never had that level to get to the AFC Championship game. You could face the Colts in the championship game, but like we have two rivals of that level, and not even counting the Bengals, who I don't want to count anyway. It's absurd. I'm looking here at what the Patriots during their 8-year stretch. Here are the teams they
Okay.
beat prior to the AFC Championship.
Okay.
So like the playoff teams they had to beat first, right? So in 2011 it was the Broncos, 45-10. 2012 it was the Texans, 41-28. 2013 it was the Colts, 43-22. 2014 it was the Ravens in the divisional round, 35-31, and then the Colts 45-7 in the AFC Championship game. So just the Ravens. Okay. And then the Chiefs in 2015. That was the Alex Smith's. That was our first playoff victory in 22 years. And then Andy Reid decided it made sense to take 12 minutes to score a touchdown, down 2 scores because there were 13 minutes on the clock. So why not use up 12 of them on your first touchdown drive?
Right.
And then the Texans the following year in 2016. Then the Titans in 2017, and then 2018 the Chargers before they played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I mean, the Ravens are in, but the Ravens of that era were not as good as the Ravens. That was, the Ravens of Joe Flacco, not the
Yeah.
Ravens of Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
There was certainly no Josh Allen level quarterback in there. I mean, who are the quarterbacks that they were facing? Maybe I probably should go through that list and just be like, who are the quarterbacks? Okay, Peyton Manning at the beginning there before he got hurt, fine.
Sure.
But like when they beat the Denver Broncos, was that
Plummer? I think that's Plummer.
No, it was Tim Tebow.
Oh, Tebow. It was Tebow. Yes, after he beat the Steelers on the overtime 80
and
whatever.
then the next week, 9 of 26 for 136 yards, got sacked 5 times. I mean, that's the level we're talking. So we talk about the teams of face. Really, it's the quarterbacks. I mean, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. How many different times did we face those players? We lost one game in overtime that we blew an 18-point lead. So
Yep.
So what they've done,
6-1
incredible.
Against those 3 guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so but I want that stamp. I want that to be the record. So yes, to me, bare minimum, they have to get back to the AFC Championship game.
Okay, I agree. I need to talk to you about Eagles fans. They're berserk. It's crazy how many reactions I've seen this offseason from Philadelphia fans where they're just relentlessly screaming about the birds and the score and everything associated with the game. I don't know. Maybe it's the 50% adult illiteracy rate in Philadelphia that has them all worked up. I'm curious if you've experienced what I'm talking about. Maybe do I just need to stay away from internet comment sections in general? Like what I they feel weird to me. It feels like a weird way to win a Super Bowl and then react in the offseason.
I mean, I do think the combination of social media comment section and Philadelphia sports fandom is kind of toxic. Yes, kind of toxic and pointless. These are the fans that booed Santa. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Philadelphia has earned their reputation. That actually did happen. I'm actually I'm listening to Joe Posnanski's book Why We Love Football on audiobook. And he has a section on that and pointing the actual game happened, I believe, in December 15th, 1968, where they wheeled out a Santa Claus at halftime, and it was booed, pelted by snowballs.
Oh my God.
And
These
apparently it wasn't the
degenerates.
first time that it happened. That's the thing.
Ah,
Eagles fans will sometimes say, "Oh, yeah, it was just one game." No, it actually happened the year before as well. So, look, that's Philadelphia for you. What I will say is like the level of vitriol that you get from Eagles fans about their victory is probably directly proportional to their insecurity of repeating
yeah.
as champions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the thing about the game, which you guys might have missed because you turned it off,
We
which I
missed a lot.
I understand. Like there was something very theatrical about the Super Bowl in the sense that to me, like the moment the Chiefs, I think they went for it on like 4th and 1, and they were down 27-0 at midfield. They went for it, kind of a last gasp effort in the middle of the third quarter, and got stuffed. And then on the very next play, Jalen Hurts throws a 50-yard bomb touchdown. I think they beat Trent McDuffie actually to make it 34-0. Like to me, I was crazy enough to still have hope because I've seen Patrick Mahomes come back so many times that even down,
Mhm.
even after he threw a pick six, and it was like 17-0, 24-0. I'm like, you can come back from this. It's possible. We've seen it done. Thinking back to the Texans playoff game, et cetera, et cetera. But like 34-0 in the middle of the third quarter and like absolutely nothing going right. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that was to me,
Mhm.
it was basically, it was like, but it was the level of shock. It was to me, it was like, it was the moment that Thanos snapped his fingers at the end of Infinity War.
Mhm.
And because I went in, I don't know how much you guys are invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I
Me a
assume
ton, him none.
okay,
But yeah.
fair enough. I do not read comic books. I enjoy the movies very much, but like I'm
Uh-huh.
not a comic book guy. I didn't know anything about the like any background story, and I went into that movie. I hadn't really become fully invested in the MCU, so I went to see the movie, and we get to that point, and then the movie ends. Like he's
Yeah.
looking out the sunset, and I'm just like, what just happened? Like that's how this ends. And to me, that was kind of the moment there where we're down 34-0, and I'm just like, this is how it ends, really?
Mhm.
But like any good MCU movie, what happens? The credits roll and then you get a stinger.
Mm.
So to me, the credits roll and then the stinger is in the fourth quarter. Yeah, okay. The Eagles are, they're playing some backups and they're in prevent mode or whatever. But Mahomes throws a touchdown to Xavier Worthy, just kind of capping off this, it was a nice little, I think it was like a slant run or something like 10 yards or whatever. But it was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is the future. Xavier Worthy's really good. And he's had a really, he's come on strong in the second half. And he's just scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. But like any good MCU movie, well, not every good MCU movie, some good MCU movies, find the stinger plays and then they go back and they finish the credits. And then right before you leave the theater, there's a second stinger and then it
Yep.
goes black.
Yep.
And the second stinger to me was the second touchdown to Xavier Worthy. This time it wasn't like a 10-yard slant or whatever it was. It was 50-yard deep over the middle to Xavier Worthy. And it's just like the exact like part of the Chiefs offensive arsenal that had been completely missing the entire season. And it's like just kind of like this like sneak peek of the next movie. And that's what it felt like to me, really. It was just like and it was the final offensive play of the game. The Chiefs were still down 18 points. They kicked off. Kenny Pickett kneeled. But and then the screen went black. But it was just kind of like, oh yeah, there's still more to come. There's another movie. We're setting up the next movie in this installment. And that's kind of how I went into the offseason. I'm like, yeah, that really sucked, but I'm like, there's more to come. So, and now the next movie's about to start.
Hmm. That
That
is
makes
a
that I'm fired up.
that is
That was really good.
a fantastic transition, because what I was going to ask you next is simply the biggest reason this season will end better than last season. And I understand there's only one way for this season to end better than last season, and that's, I mean, I guess we could lose the Super Bowl, but not by a jillion points, and that would be better than losing the Super Bowl as we did. But biggest reason this season will end better than last season is what to you?
We have to talk about something really that really frustrates me even now to talk about, because we talked, it was the one thing we were worried about, or one thing we kind of disagreed with the Chiefs about when we were doing our playoff game previews back in January, which is how they use the offensive line. I mean,
Yep.
think back. Like, okay, we lost when we lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Like, that offensive line was the worst offensive line, is single game offensive line we've seen in the Andy Reid era, certainly. Right. But there
Yep.
was excuses for it. Eric Fisher blew out his Achilles the game before. And it just like you had four backups starting, if I recall, right?
Mhm.
Yep. And
But
playing out
let's
of position.
right. Some of them being forced to play out of position. But like, think about this. Creed Humphrey might be the best center in football. Joe Tooney is top three left guard in the NFL. I don't know.
Yep.
I wouldn't
Yep.
rank him any lower than third. Trey Smith, maybe let's say top 7 or 8. I'm not going to, I think he's maybe at a step below that. I mean, obviously they paid him this year and let Tooney go because he's 7 or 8 years younger. But I don't want to say he's a top 5 right guard yet, but he's definitely top 10 and somewhere above that, I would say. So 3/5 of your offensive line are among the absolute best at their position.
Well, not Tooney anymore, but
Well, I'm saying last year
okay.
saying last year in the playoffs, and yet somehow and yet the offensive line was an absolute disaster in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, it was one step up from that the 2020 team, I guess it
Yep.
was, that
It
lost to the
was.
Buccaneers, but
Yep.
just barely better. I'm like, that team was like, it was like Austin Reeder, and I mean, I can't even remember half
Remmers, Wiley,
Remmers. Oh my
Wisniewski,
God.
Allegretti,
Yes.
and Ryder.
Wisniewski.
Was
Yep.
Allegretti was starting? He was like
They
actually
were all five
he might have been the
starting.
best guy.
I mean,
In retrospect,
it's
the best starter on that team might have been Nick Allegretti.
Hmm.
We had Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and I mean, Jawan Taylor is not bad.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And yet it played like terribly because the Chiefs took one of the 3 best left guards in football and turned him into
Yeah.
a really bad left tackle so that they could play a really bad left guard.
Yep.
We were saying on the show, does it really make sense to like weaken 2 positions? Is DJ Humphries really that bad that you just can't start him at left tackle and then you have some of the best left guards in football to help him? Like, so that still sticks in my craw because, of course, the pick six interception he threw was because Joe Tooney was basically pushed right into his arm as he was throwing. That was a really poor allocation of resources when you have 3 elite guys on your offensive line and you turn them into 2 elite and 1 really bad player. And I feel like they had other options. So when you say, why do I think they're going to be better this year? Just start with the offensive line.
Yep.
The fact that, okay, yeah, Joe Tooney has been traded, but he, at least in the Super Bowl, he wasn't an asset at all.
Yeah.
And what we're replacing him with now, I don't know that Kingsley is going to be elite, but I very much like the idea of taking a promising left tackle who just had a weakness that could be exploited over and over again and moving him to left guard. I mean, it's like taking a shortstop who's just got like really slow feet and moving him to third base because he's got a cannon arm and
Right.
good reflexes. Like, you're moving a guy to an easier position where he doesn't need all the same level of skills. He can get away without one skill. In
Well,
this
and
case,
he was getting beat around the edge. I mean,
exactly. I
like,
was
you
saying
move
it's
him
the
inside.
lateral movement. That's
Yeah.
just like a shortstop who's too slow to play
Right.
shortstop, right?
That's a
There are
great
other things you
analogy.
can do.
Great comp.
Left tackle can't move laterally. Okay, move him inside where he doesn't have to. So that, to me, I'm excited to see what he can do there. But obviously, I mean, the story right now, and the reason why I'm more optimistic today than I was a month ago, and was more optimistic on whatever the morning after the first round of the draft than I was the morning before the first round of the draft, is the Josh Simmons hype train is it's just impossible to stop. It's about as hard to stop as he is. So we might have a left tackle, guys. And
Mm.
it's insane to think about the fact that they've won 3 Super Bowls, been to 5 Super Bowls, and Eric Fisher is pretty clearly to me the best left tackle Patrick Mahomes has ever played with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it's been
Orlando Brown is
five.
probably second. Like,
Yeah. Yep. And it's been five different left tackles. This would
yeah,
be the sixth
Right.
one. I mean, it's crazy that they haven't had that position, ironed out yet. But maybe they do
but I
now.
mean, he doesn't have like everyone's expecting him to be like Anthony Munoz or something at this
Right.
point. But like,
Right.
if he is the 10th best left tackle in football this year, I mean, people will be disappointed at this point. But for a rookie, that would actually be a really incredible
Yeah.
accomplishment. But 10th best would be amazing. Like Fisher, and I think in 2018, 2019, Fisher was probably top 10.
Yeah,
Yep.
he was
Not
right
top
around
five,
10th.
but
I
he was
think,
on that
yeah,
range.
in
Yep.
that 8 to
Orlando
10 range.
Brown, I feel like was like an 11 to 15 kind of guy, like above average,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but not so much above average that they were willing to give him 20 million a year. So
Right.
that says something. And then everyone else, Donovan Brown and
Smith. Yeah. He was
oh, sorry,
older,
Donovan Smith. Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah,
He
you're
was
right. He was, fine. He wasn't great. He was probably 20,
right,
I would
exactly. He
say.
was, I think, below average, above the dregs of the league for sure. But yeah, like that 16 to 20 range.
Wanya Morris,
Um,
no
and
good.
then, basically everyone else they've tried has been, uh, uh,
Lousy.
just
Bad.
bad.
Yeah.
So if he's 10th, and then, as a 22-year-old rookie making, rookie money, like this is genuinely exciting in part because like the day, I mean, I remember doing this thought process in my head at the time. So this is not me saying this now. When we got him with the 32nd pick, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, this it's a rare time where like the player that everyone's like, well, this what my dream pick for the Chiefs at
Yep.
31 at the time was Josh Simmons was like him. Some people were like on the Luther Burden train. They were both there, but I'm
Sure.
like, I'd like not a nice receiver, but like you can find receivers. You can there's one thing everyone says about the draft: you will never find an elite left tackle, not just in the after the first round, but after the top half of the first
Yep.
round.
Yep.
So there's a guy. Okay, he's hurt. It may not work out, but like you got to take that risk. That
It's the
was
only time you're
the
going to get
idea.
one.
And if you had told me on that day, like if I could push a button and the button makes this happen, Josh Simmons misses his entire rookie season recovering from his patellar injury,
Hmm.
but then comes back fully healthy and is a top 10 caliber left tackle, an above average left tackle after his rookie season. I would have pushed that button, no question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I remember saying to myself, if he doesn't play this year, as long as I know he's 100% healthy, as long as he makes a full recovery, because it sounds crazy to say this now, but like there was considerable doubt he'd be able to play his rookie season.
Yep.
3 months ago, at the
Hmm.
end of April. I
Turns
don't like
out.
it's so weird. Like I don't know how everyone missed the fact that he was ready for camp with no limitations
Yeah.
and
It's crazy.
and no sign of even like he's 100%, but just he's still moving a little gingerly, or just he's a little slow right now. His first step reaction time just a little off because of no.
No, he's dominating.
He looks like a ballet dancer out there
Yeah.
right now with
I
his movement, and also he's like incredibly incredible upper body strength for a guy who's not like oversized, but
Yep.
like just is very difficult to move off his spot.
I
It's
wonder
crazy.
if the Chiefs medical team did not miss that, and they, must have worked him out and been like, "Oh, everybody seems to think that he's not going to be good to go, but sure looks good
And
to go to us."
I
I
mean,
mean,
they did the same thing with Trey Smith. I
yes.
mean,
Yes.
they have hit a lot on, and it's funny because this is the same training staff that consistently gets dinged in the NFLPA ratings.
Right.
The players seem to actually hate the training staff,
They can scout
but
him, they can't take care of him.
yeah, but when it comes to taking risks on guys in the draft that have some medical concerns, boy, they are batting way above average in those picks.
Yeah.
So, every year you think, okay, teams are, teams throughout the NFL can't possibly continue to be so I don't want to say stupid, but just sort of like unwise about how you build a winning team and make foolish draft decisions. That every year you think, okay, teams are going to study what works in the draft, what's important, what pitfalls to avoid. One of which is like letting a guy who was an elite talent in college, but like is coming off an injury fall, right? And it every year they don't learn. It's just like the Texans let this guy go at 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just it's so funny because like what makes the NFL has stacked the rules against dynasties at every turn, right? Obviously you draft late, the way the salary cap works,
Hmm.
like it's very
The schedule.
difficult to sustain the schedule. It's very
Hmm.
difficult to sustain greatness. The only way to really do it is to just you have to be elite at drafting every year, despite drafting 32nd or close to it every year.
Yeah.
And yet every year, so and depending on the era, obviously the Chiefs right now, but like the Patriots early in their run, we're great at this sort of thing. Like certain teams are always better than others at drafting. What's frustrating, of course, is the one team that right now might be better than the Chiefs, and certainly have the reputation for it, is the Eagles.
Yes.
And
Howie.
what happened? We got to 31, and of course the Eagles traded up for the privilege because there was another guy out there who was considered a top 15 potential talent, but coming off an injury in Jahad Campbell.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's to the point where what makes me laugh is that like, it's not just that the Eagles got Jahad Campbell and the Chiefs got Josh Simmons, but like, it wasn't a surprise to anybody when the Eagles on the clock at 31 took Jahad. Like everyone's like, oh, they're going to take Jahad Campbell here.
Right.
And
Right.
there was not at all a surprise. I think we were all terrified they wouldn't because like you just worry about
Sure. I mean, Howie loves his offensive lineman. He loves. I mean, what if they had traded up and taken Josh Simmons? I mean,
Right.
well, I mean, I think there would have been a fight because like I'm pretty sure though my understanding is Brett Veach, they
Asked
yeah,
called
him what side
the
of the ball.
what side of the ball and they said defense
right.
and
Yeah.
like, but my point is like everybody knew that Chad Kimball's a perfect Eagles player. Everybody knew Josh Simmons was the perfect fit for Kansas City, and the other 30 teams still let it happen.
Yeah.
And on some level, and right after the draft, everyone's like, fans of other teams were just like, how did we let this happen again? Like,
That's why those teams are drafting 31 and 32, and
right.
we're not.
And that's the thing. They couldn't even blame. You could be mad at us all you want, but like, blame yourselves.
Yes.
But the Eagles, I feel like they do this every year. And when they got Cooper DeJean in the second round, everyone's like, "Oh my God, how the hell is
Mhm.
it?" And the year before, Jalen Carter at number 9, and people are like, "This guy might be the best player in the draft. How do you get the number?" It's every year. They got Devontae Smith like 4 years ago with like the 10th pick, and it was like you'll come off an injury, but it's like this guy's, would have gone much higher if it wasn't for the injury. Well, he recovered from the injury, and he's a pretty good player. It's just like every year this happens, but it's annoying because the team that just beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl are the other team that had once again got an incredible player with their first pick. Um, but it's incredibly, gratifying to be that team in the Chiefs where they finally got the perfect fit for the one hole in their offensive regime that's been there from day one. And the best part though is that, like you said, that they actually got a draft pick out of it. Like
Yeah.
somehow they got Josh Simmons, and for the privilege of moving up one pick, which is hilarious because it's like the minute, like if you're the Eagles, shouldn't you be like, well, if they're asking us offense or defense, and if we say the wrong one, they're not going to trade it to us.
Right.
If we say the right
Schrodinger's
one,
pick. Yeah.
then they're not going to take the player we want. So why
Uh-huh.
on earth should we give up anything?
Yeah.
Like they give up a fifth round pick. Like Jeffrey Bassa is a Kansas City Chief because the Eagles gave us a pick for no reason whatsoever.
Yep.
Imagine if Bassa makes like a key play in week 2 when we play them in a rematch.
Yeah.
To me, that's the most hilarious
Imagine if
part
he
of it.
makes a key play in week 22.
Well, I'm
It's
really hoping we don't have to play him in week 22. I'd rather
no,
play
me
somebody
neither.
else, but yes, that if it happens that way, yes, that would be absolutely incredible. Good first round for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it was great. And honestly, like one other point to make about that too is, the Chiefs do have a little bit of an edge in picking 32nd in that they have something the Eagles don't have, and that's they have Patrick Mahomes. And I know there's been a lot of discussion this offseason because Jalen Hurts is Super Bowl champion. about where he belongs in the echelon of quarterback rankings in the NFL, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And the path that the Eagles are walking is an even more difficult path than the one the Chiefs have been walking because they don't have Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs do have Patrick Mahomes. And you pair Patrick Mahomes with an elite left tackle for the first time ever. Whoop.
Pretty good sitch. Well, Rany, we are now at the point of the show where Austin and I have developed a little bit of a fun thought exercise for us that we're going to play over the next couple times you're on the show. Obviously, thank you for giving your time as always, and we know that you'll be back, so we're going to plan ahead. So, our thought experiment is that this is the 8th season that Patrick Mahomes is going to start for the Chiefs, and 8's a nice little round number, easy enough to do an elimination bracket. So what Austin and I have done before this call is we have seeded the 8 Patrick Mahomes teams, which does include the 2025 team, which is a little weird to seed them. We don't really know exactly what they're going to become, but however, we're still going to roll with it. And we have put them 1 through 8. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the order that we put them in, why we put them. You agree or disagree with any of that stuff. And then for tonight, we are going to do the first round of the bracket: 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. We're all just going to quickly match them up, say who we think would win, and move on from there. Do you understand the game?
I understand the assignment.
Okay. So, firstly, we kind of actually worked at the bracket from both ends. We kind of built the 1 and then the 8 and then the 2 and then the 7. We kind of, that's how we approached it. So, our number 1 overall seed is the 20. Well, actually, for this one only, which one do you think is the number 1 seed of the 8 seasons?
I think the team that I would pick as the best Chiefs team of the Mahomes era. I mean, that's how we're
Yeah.
Are we saying they're just the best, or
Yeah.
like the team that would beat the other Chiefs teams? I guess it's probably the same thing.
It's probably the same thing. We approached it as if we're going to match them up with each other.
That
so I would
question
say
may become relevant, Rany,
may.
as we get into the specific conversations about the teams.
Well, see,
But
the
way that
problem
we
with
seeded them is mostly vibes based.
Okay,
Yes,
I was going to say, 'cause
correct.
the problem with this entire exercise, the fatal flaw in this exercise is that every single team has Patrick Mahomes at quarterback.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
So but they do have different versions of.
They do,
Yep.
but it's just like,
Yes.
no lead is ever like, there's no comeback that can't happen.
Yep.
Right. No team can, like, basically no team will ever lose these games. It'll just be like
Yep.
the Iowa Baseball Confederacy, and the game
Yeah,
will go
right.
on into 37 overtimes until people
Yeah.
just like
Perfect.
keel over
That's
and
exactly
die.
right.
Perfect.
But if we ignore that fatal flaw for a moment, I think the best Chiefs team is the 2022 team.
We are going to get along swimmingly, Rany, because that is, of course, exactly who we slotted in at number 1. We put them there. It was kind of the clean sweep: Mahomes MVP, Super Bowl champs,
Best offense in the league.
best
great
offense in the league.
defense,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think everything that,
A dominant team wire to wire.
yeah. So that was 2022. Our second seed, we're going to go with the Super Bowl 54 champions of 2019. Now, there's obviously the top of the bracket is a little contentious. There's great arguments to be made for a lot of these teams. The number 3 seed, we went with that aforementioned Tampa Bay Super Bowl losing team of 2020 that was really, really, really good up until the end of the year when things fell apart on the line. We've got them at the 3. We've got the 4 seed. This was maybe one of my favorite sneaky seedings here, as 2018, because they were, so damn explosive. A lot of fun. Obviously took the Patriots to overtime in the AFC Championship game in 2018. Love them. And then we kind of by default slotted 2025 in the middle of this bracket at the 5, because we're not really sure yet what we've got. We have a pretty good idea. We think they're going to be pretty good, but can't put them above some of those teams. So we've got the 5 seed as 2025. We've got the 6 seed as last year's 2024 team, that while they made it to the Super Bowl and while they overcame a lot of obstacles, and obviously, they were gritty, but just not a lot there.
I mean, they lost one game with Patrick Mahomes starting, right? Like,
they lost one game and they're the 6th seed. This is a Patrick Mahomes appreciation segment, because that's crazy. But 7 seed would be the year prior, 2023. A lot of stuff went wrong there. A lot of drops. Obviously they won the Super Bowl.
I love this. I want to like force every like Broncos fan in the universe to like sit through this exercise where we just ranked a team that won the Super Bowl at
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
the second worst Chiefs team of the
Yes,
last
the
eight
Patrick
years.
Mahomes era. Yes. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And then of course the 8th seed. I think this was maybe the easiest one to slot. 2021.
Yeah.
2021 was a disaster, start to finish. It was they started off 3-4. People were throwing shells at them that they had no idea what to do with. They lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, which is unequivocally the worst thing you can possibly do in football. So, yeah, so that's our seedings 1 through 8. Before we talk real quickly about 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, and that kind of stuff, what's your biggest gripe on that order?
I mean, it's a pretty good list. If I have a gripe, it might be ranking the 2018 team as high as you did at number 4.
That is fair.
And I get it because I mean that team scored 70 points more than every other Chiefs team of this era.
It
Like
was
Right.
insane.
it was Patrick
But they
Mahomes.
needed to.
I don't know if he was at his best, but like it was Patrick Mahomes at a time where no other team knew how on earth to defend this man.
Yeah.
They'd never
Yeah.
seen anything like him before. But
Nope.
I think that's in part why their offense was so outrageous that year, and it certainly has a case to be made as the best Chiefs offense of this era. But I think I'm not convinced it was a better offense than the 2022 team. That I'm not convinced Patrick Mahomes was a better player in 2018 than he was in 2022
I agree.
when he had seen everything the NFL could throw at him and he had learned to adjust. But that defense was unequivocally the worst of this entire stretch. And so my argument would be like if we're going to do the seedings now, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're this upcoming team is the number 5 seed. They're
Yep.
playing the 2018 Chiefs.
Yep.
Feel pretty good about that matchup for the 25 team.
Here's you're telling me that Patrick Mahomes gets to go up against Bob Sutton.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
That's
fair.
That's the
Yes.
thing.
Fair.
It's like, did you guys see Tom Brady against Bob Sutton?
We unfortunately
Yeah.
did.
42-year-old
and
Tom
you're
And
Brady.
not only
taking-
Tom Brady, we saw every 2018 offense against Bob Sutton.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it
but,
was.
but you saw Chris Collinsworth against Bob Sutton in overtime of the AFC Championship game. Like now take not 2018 Patrick Mahomes, who was a phenom, but maybe hadn't seen every defensive scheme and learned to identify what defenses were doing. You're taking 2025 Patrick Mahomes, who's about to turn 30 years old, been doing this for 8 years.
Yeah.
You don't think he could solve Bob Sutton defense in about 3 minutes?
I think he
And-
dropped 70 on him.
and basically and do what like Peyton Manning did to the Greg Robinson led 2003 Chiefs in the playoffs, and literally calling out to his team
Yeah.
in the huddle what the defense was doing out loud without a care in the world that they knew, because he knew Greg Robinson wouldn't even adjust the defense even if they knew they knew that the offense knew what they were about to do. Not that I'm still bitter about it.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't realize you were going to unzip me, but you did.
Yeah, Bob Sutton was Buddy freaking Ryan compared to Greg Robinson.
Yes, he
okay.
was. Yes, he
Greg
was.
Robinson is on another level entirely.
All timer.
So,
Yeah,
but
I
yes,
think if we were going to do units in this, offenses and defenses, I mean, I think the 2018 defense doesn't even have a conversation with anybody else.
It's the only non-Spags defense. That's fair.
Well, that's
I
it. Literally the only non-Spags. I mean, sometimes I forget that, like, you think that, Spags came in the middle of the Mahomes era. Not really. I mean, it was
No.
1 year.
Right.
Yep.
1
And
year.
7 of 8 years now, Mahomes has had Spags on the other side. That's a hell of a security blanket. He didn't have him that year. And I just feel like, if this 2025 team is as good as we think, the idea of going up against Bob Sutton, I'm taking the upset in the 5v4 matchup.
Okay, so I think given that, we can go ahead. We're going to work from the middle of the bracket out then. We kind of have gone 4v5 right here. I think I'm on your side there as far as if you talked about this team going up against 2018, sure, they've got to deal with Tyreek. I mean, that's a unique 2018 Tyreek. So like prime, grade A Tyreek.
But you have Prime McDuffie
You
too.
do.
So
You do. Absolutely. So I think, yes, voting wise here, I'm going 5. I assume everybody's going 2025 over 2018. Is that correct?
Well, if it's
Anybody given
already two to
2018
nothing, if it's already 2-0, I'll
he'll
pull like Susan Collins here or
yeah,
something, and I'll just throw in like my
sure.
my vote the other way since it
Yeah,
doesn't matter
you're
anyway.
establishing your
I'll
fake moderate bona fides.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
exactly
doing
right.
here?
My
Okay.
fake moderation here. I'm just gonna throw in a vote for 2018, so it's not a shutout. We already knew what the outcome was going to be. I mean, Randy makes a great point. I mean, Bob Sutton is clearly the weakest link of any of these teams here,
Clearly.
and Patrick of any age going against Bob Sutton is probably going to be a massacre. And I mean, we haven't talked about it yet. We talked about Josh Simmons and how we're all excited about the offensive line. I mean,
This offense,
the wide receivers could be really good.
they
They
could.
should have been really good last year. And then Rashid took Pat's helmet to the knee, and Hollywood got hurt on the first play in preseason and missed almost the entire season. And Xavier Worthy was a rookie who suddenly was, the highest talent pedigree wide receiver on the team after, you know, 5 weeks. So if all of those guys are healthy, you add in Jalen Royals. I don't know. I mean, the 4 seed, all I'll say in defense of the 4 seed is prime Travis Kelce, prime Tyreek Hill.
No, you're absolutely right. And
I think it at least would be an interesting game, right? Like, I think it at least would be close. Maybe you give it to 2025 Patrick Mahomes pulling a Tom Brady in overtime, driving down the field against a Bob Sutton defense. Fair enough. At that point, it's game over,
you
right?
know what?
Like,
I think it might look more like 2018 Chiefs versus Rams than
Right.
2018 Chiefs versus Patriots. I think that this team would be able to, go blow for blow with them and probably pull it off at the end. So yes, I think we're settled there. Five takes the first upset, but in a gamey and competitive game there. Hopefully 2025 has more in store for them in the future. We are going to move on to the 3 versus 6, and of course that is the 3 seed 2020, one loss with the starters before the Super Bowl. Just a juggernaut until the wheels came off with the offensive line, going up against the 6 seed last year's 2024 team, which was anything but a juggernaut. They struggled, they scraped and clawed. They also only lost one game, but it was just in completely different. Well, I say completely different fashions, but Austin, you pointed out when we were making this bracket, the 2020 team didn't
didn't cover,
cover
yeah,
the
for
last
the
back
second
half of
half
the
of the year.
season,
Yeah, right.
but they did win all those games. So we do have a really funny parallel there. I will say the 2020 offense ranked number one in total yards and number six in total points. So they were, pretty solid. 2024, of course, number nine in yard, or sorry, that was the defense. 2024 offense, 16 in yards, 15 in points. So clearly, but the pace of the game, they were grinding games out. They weren't really going for the high fly type of 2020 stuff. They didn't have Tyreek Hill last year, of course.
And they
So
didn't have prime Travis Kelce.
they
So
didn't have prime Travis Kelce last year. All respect to what the 2024 Chiefs accomplished with what they were given and their health issues, which we have to take into account here. 2024 team really doesn't have much of Rashee Rice or Hollywood Brown to look back on. So I'm voting for the 3 seed 2020. Randy, what do you think?
So the 2020, like you said, both teams lost one regular season game until their meaningless weeks, I guess 17 or week 18,
Uh-huh.
their season finale. They both lost in the Super Bowl because their offensive line was torn to shreds. The 2024 Chiefs outscored their opponents on the season, the regular season, by 59 points, which is absolutely remarkable for a team that went 15-2.
Yeah, it's almost
Now,
impossible.
now
Oh, the last
they
game
did
against
lose by
Denver.
30, right? They
Yeah,
lost by 38 to Denver in the finale with
sure.
nobody there. But the 2020 team outscored their opponents by 111 points. They also played a meaningless game and sat everybody and lost 38 to 21.
Yeah,
So they lost by
it's the
17
Chargers,
in there.
right?
So,
Yeah.
if you take out the season finale, they still had a much better point differential.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that team in the 2024 team, managed to get by a Houston Texans team that had a really good defense, but was deeply flawed and eked out a win against the Bills. A great game, but like they didn't dominate.
Right.
That same team, the same Bills team that they beat by 2 touchdowns in the easiest of their playoff matchups back in 2020 in the AFC Championship. They beat the Browns that year by 5, but that's because they were missing Patrick Mahomes for the entire second half.
That's right.
Um, I mean, I guess that the only question I have here is this game played before or after Eric Fisher blows out his Achilles, right? Like
That's been a great question because we have
how do we deal
ended
with
the
injuries here?
seasons with different health situations than the full season. So to me, I'm thinking of this in my mind as who played the most at each position
Right.
and matching them all up and not necessarily the end of the year, but kind of the composite of the team. So I mean, yes, I do think Eric Fisher is included in the whole body of work for 2020.
Right. And I think that based on that, like the offensive line was, the only reason why this team got blown out in the Super Bowl that year because the offensive line, and then just bad luck, incredible, drops, et cetera. Like kind of flukish stuff happened. Like I think
Very
that team
much.
was legitimately like was a legitimate Super Bowl team that just had some horribly timed injuries and then just some horrible bad luck in the game. Whereas the 2024 team never had a left tackle.
Nope.
And that
Yeah,
kind of is a
right.
problem. Who's coming off the edge for the 2020 Chiefs? Let's see, who led the
Frank
2020
Clark.
backs?
was Tano Passanio and Frank Clark were the edges.
Okay, so Clark, I mean, I guess you would look at Frank Clark. He had 6 sacks. I'm just trying to imagine who would, yeah, he'd line up on the right side a lot. So like,
Yep.
I could just see him feasting over there.
Yeah,
I
he
Um,
mean,
would have.
and playoff Frank Clark.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
exactly. And you're getting playoff shark too. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
that's
So
right.
Yeah.
based on that, like I'm comfortable. So the 2020 team was a slightly better version of the 2024 team, and the narrative was very similar, but they were a better team on paper. And I mean, neither team could run. Like the 2020 Chiefs were led by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but last
Mhm.
year was Kareem Hunt. So like,
Yeah, right.
that not exactly an issue
Funny
either
the
way.
similarities between these two teams.
Yeah.
They're extremely similar, and we had them at 3 and the 6 seed. I stand by it. I think I'll make this a clean sweep,
Okay.
but I will say, I mean, I think you could give the 2024 Chiefs the edge on the defensive side of the ball. I do
Certainly.
think the 2024 defense was better,
Fourth in
and
points, ninth in yards
yeah, and
compared to
more and
2020,
just
10th
more
in
talented.
points,
Like if you
16th in
look
yards.
at talent across the board, that 2020 defense was anchored by Frank Clark, who was obviously a great playoff contributor. You
Badger,
know,
Thornhill, Gay, Ward,
yeah,
pretty
I
good
mean,
players.
and
Chris
Chris
Jones.
Jones obviously, but he's going to be a stalwart for all of these teams.
Yes, he
Obviously,
will.
all
Yes,
eight
he
of
will.
them.
Yep.
Um,
I mean,
but
the one thing is like the 2020 team doesn't have the advantage of the 2021 draft, right? Like the defense,
right,
you think
Yeah.
about all
yep,
the guys, and those guys were in
exactly,
full bloom last year
exactly,
with McDuffie
and
and Karl Loftus, Brian
yeah,
Cook, even
Bolton.
Joshua
Yep.
Williams, and sorry, the 2022 draft. I guess you're right. Was it
Oh,
2020?
yeah,
I guess both
Chenal,
drafts,
McDuffie, and
right?
Karlaftis.
Chanel as
right.
well,
Yes.
and
Yes.
even like Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, like the amount
Hmm.
of defensive talent they picked up in those two
But
drafts
those
was
two drafts after the Super Bowl were really like two drafts back. I mean, really every draft since the Tampa Super Bowl. I mean, going into that Tampa Super Bowl, that was kind of like that was sort of the low ebb for the Chiefs from a drafting perspective because they obviously had to give up a first round pick after in
For Mahomes.
2018 for
right for
Mahomes,
Mahomes,
and
Worked out.
then Brett's first draft was not very good, and then
right?
it was really after the Tampa Super Bowl that the Chiefs front office really came to its
Yeah,
own and
Clyde
started
was a
drafting
missed
well.
pick. I mean,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think like this is it's definitely another one of those things that even a 3 versus a 6, like you can make the argument either way. I do think the 2024 team has significantly better defense, but then you're also talking about the worst offense in the Mahomes era against on the other side Mahomes with prime Kelsey and prime
Right.
Tyreek and Eric Fisher, who we agree if he's out there is probably the best left tackle of any of these teams that we're talking about.
Yep.
So I,
Yep.
I think I'll make it a clean sweep on these.
I completely agree. So the number 3 seed 2020 moves on. I'm really interested in this next one. The 7 seeded 2023
This is a fun
Chiefs
one.
against the 2 seeded 2019 Chiefs for a couple reasons. For me, the 2023 defense performed the best of all
I
eight
mean,
or of all
it's
seven of these
outrageous.
past defense. They were second in the league in points, second in yards, and really, between Snead and McDuffie, they had everything locked down on the outside. They were pretty relentless all over the board in the 2023 defense. But of course, that team they did struggle on offense a bit. They were 15th in points and ninth in yards in 2023. Very similar looking stuff to 2024. Couldn't really get stuff moving. A lot of drops. Obviously, we've talked all about MVS and Sky and Kadarius and all the big time, flubs that those guys all had. So the 2023 team, much better defense, struggling on offense. And then 2019 kind of put the whole thing together. Obviously won the Super Bowl, but fifth in points, sixth in yards. So they were on offense, they were a top 5 or 6 team. And then defense, they were seventh in points, 17th in yards. Kind of, that's the first year of Honey Badger and Frank Clark and Spags and all the different, the vibes that came with the new and improved championship swagger of 2019. That team, obviously the big comebacks in the playoffs, hugely, impactful to me looking at this team and kind of up against the wall and how they handle adversity and stuff like that. I mean, my gut is, of course, we seeded 2019 second because they were a very, very, very good team. And I think that explosiveness with the offense was still there. They missed some games from Pat, but obviously when they needed to have the explosiveness on offense, I mean, all 3 of the playoff games, they had it. So I think I'm going 2019, but I really, the 2023 defense, I think would have performed similarly to the 2019 San Francisco defense against them, where, they could have their number for a little bit. I don't think they could have their number for the full game. So I'm going 2019. Rany.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you, but if there is a game that's going to be an upset, I feel like this is the game.
Sure.
Because the argument for the 2023 team is basically that, yeah, they went 11-6, but which is by far the worst record of any
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes team. And yet, like, so much of their failures was predicated on like just horrible drops by receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any kind of flukish tendency to that, if some of that is just bad luck, like this team was a couple, it was a Kadarius Toney lining up 6 inches offside away from a victory in one game, and MVS dropping a touchdown pass kind of through his hands away from a win in another game, like that.
Yep.
Actually, if as frustrating as the receiving core was, if their luck just evens out, that it's actually a much better team than you think. And then, like you said, defensively, that team was on absolute lockdown. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the best year for cornerbacks that maybe the Chiefs ever had, with McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed in his best year, and even like Watson and Williams giving them some good stuff as the third cornerback. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think I'll go with the 2019 team because, I mean, that is the team also that came back from down 24 nothing in the playoffs.
Right.
Certainly resilience was not a problem for that team either and could score in bunches. But like I said, if I had to bet on an upset, this is the upset I would pick.
I'll take the upset. Give me 2023.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Sure.
I'll tell you why.
Sure.
We talked about this at the outset, and Rany immediately, when we were talking about this last night, devising this project off the air, we just laughed about the fact that, even a bad Chiefs team is going to beat every other team because we have Patrick Mahomes. Like here we have a team that won 11-6 in the regular season and then beat 3 super teams in the playoffs consecutively on the road and then at a neutral site. I mean, at Buffalo, at Baltimore, and then over the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And those were 3 of the best teams of the millennium. From a DVOA standpoint, this was the toughest.
It's the best Super Bowl run ever.
It's the best Super Bowl run ever by an 11-6 Chiefs team. Like, unequivocally the worst performing regular season. I mean, the worst record in the Patrick Mahomes era in the regular season. And so the glory of this bracket is that any of these teams can beat any of the other teams because they're all the Chiefs. They all have Patrick Mahomes. They all have Andy Reid. And the difference with this 2023 team is that defense. And, we saw the 2019 team had Tyreek Hill, prime Tyreek Hill, Wasp Tyreek Hill. We saw the 2023 team play Tyreek Hill twice. And he did nothing against that 2023 Chiefs team because L'Jarius Sneed was putting him into the dirt off the line and not letting him do anything.
And there's a decent argument that the Miami Tyreek Hill was more explosive than the Kansas City.
Sure.
Certainly in 2023.
Sure. Although it was, it's not always, 4 below
Yeah.
zero. So
Right.
there is
That's
that to
true.
consider.
That's
But you know
true.
what?
But in
You know what?
Germany, it worked out well.
That's true.
It did.
That's a good
It did.
point.
It did.
You know what? You've convinced me. I think I'm going with the upset
Woo!
here.
I love it.
Whoa,
Well, you wanted
upset.
an
I love
upset
it.
anyway. This is great. So
No, I actually, I do. I really, I was tempted to do it anyway, but no, I think you've convinced me here.
yeah.
I don't know how much this matters, but like, I do wonder um, in a, in a matchup that's this close, where offense and defense matters. We talk about special teams, like which version of Harrison Butker
Huh.
is the
Sure.
best?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 2023 team here.
Oh my God.
Harrison
I mean,
Butker was the best season of his career. 33 or
yeah.
35 in the regular season. Didn't miss an extra point. 11 for 11 in the
Yeah.
playoffs, including a 57-yarder in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl on a bad snap.
Jeez.
Um,
That's right. That's
I
pretty
could I
damn
could
good.
I could see that game coming down to a Harrison Butker like 60-yarder
Yeah.
at the on the final play.
I don't
So
think it
Yep.
would have been a shootout. Both of those
right.
teams would have kept that game within arm's reach. I mean, that was what they specialized in 2023 and even 2019. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a completely legitimate. My last argument for 19, which I know I have lost this 2-1, which is great, is the turnover percentage on drives. 2023 offense turned it over
It was,
26th in
it
the
was
league,
gross.
26th
Yeah.
most. I mean,
It
a
was bad.
lot. And 2019 was fourth. And then on defense, the 2023 defense was 25th in turnover percentage, and the 2019 team was ninth. So
Well, that was the team. It was the best defense in the league, and yet they never got
never
turnover. I
took
mean,
the ball away.
famous. I mean, this is why McDuffie was the best cornerback in football, arguably, and
No.
like
Yeah,
didn't have
without a pick.
an interception in his career until
Yeah,
last season. So,
yeah,
but that to me, that's their play style. They were just a suffocating defense. It
they
was
were
not. It was not that. That's the transition from a Tyrann Mathieu led
Yep.
risk
opportunistic
Yep.
taking. Yep,
right
yep, that's
versus
true.
the Trent McDuffie just absolute lockdown. Just
That's
you have
with
no
or
control
without
of the ball.
Dan Sorensen. So that's all the difference
That
there.
well, the 2019 team had Dan Sorensen
Yep.
That's
They
exactly
did.
right.
They
and
did.
Ben
20
Neiman.
and
And
Ben
Ben
Neiman.
Neiman. There were
So
some weak links for
23
Patrick Mahomes to
Mahomes would
attack.
have seen that come
Yeah.
in and be like,
Yeah.
"Thank God I can
Yeah,
finally
well,
throw
and
the
the
football."
question is, his receiver is wide open because Dan
Yeah.
Sorensen
Right.
said the problem is his receiver is MVS because
That's
MVS
Yeah.
perfect.
hold on to the
That's
ball.
MVS,
perfect.
McCole Hardman. Yeah.
MVS
Right.
versus Dan Sorensen is a
Oh
matchup
boy,
that we would have
I
paid to
mean,
see that ball.
would
No
have been
one would have
incredible.
caught that if he had thrown it
yeah,
100 times. So that's
Would have been incredible.
great point. So 2023 with the 7-2 upset, which sets us up, of course, for the finale of 1 versus 8, the least interesting matchup
Yeah.
here.
No. Come
2022
on.
versus 2021. Vibes alone are as different between these 2 years as you could possibly have. 2021, you start off 3-4, you can't figure out other defenses. Clyde fumbles the ball at Baltimore in a game that they should have absolutely had to
I
start
mean,
that
game
one.
literally
Game was over. They
It
were
was
they
over.
were running it to kick the field goal to win it, and he fumbles it. And then, I mean, 2021, you lose to the Bengals, you blow the big lead there. Again, worst outcome you could pretty much have. And then 2022, everything goes right. Everything's perfect. They win the Super Bowl. Pat wins MVP. The offense is great. The defense does enough in 22. I mean, without further drama, I think this is 2022 in a pretty comfortable win for me.
so I honestly, and this is a
He
testament
wants
to
to make
just
another upset.
well, it's just a testament to just how incredible this 7 years and
Yeah, it
counting
is.
run has been. Like, I can make a case for the 2021
You
team.
could.
Sure, you
Like,
can.
yeah, they got off to a horrible start. They had to figure things out, but they did. Like, they started 3-4 and like had one of the worst games, probably the worst game of the Patrick Mahomes era, with the 27-3 loss to the Titans
Sure.
in there. But they had to adjust, and they did, and they finished 9-1.
Mm-hmm.
They had blew out the Steelers in the wild card round. The game, it was one of those games where it's just like, do we really need a 7 seed in the playoffs at all?
No.
Like, it was
No.
the exact opposite of like all the years where like the Chiefs would sneak into the playoffs as a 7 seed. We're just so happy that they get to play one more week, and all week you would dream of the sort of any given Sunday ethos that anything can happen in a playoff game, and then
Yep.
they lose to the Ravens, what are the 34-8 or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a year they lost to the Colts 23-8, something like that.
Never close.
That's what that was, but in reverse, where the Steelers, like, even when they were up early, like 7-0 in the second quarter, you knew it wasn't going to work out. And then we beat them by 21. And then you have the greatest NFL game of all time, arguably.
Yep.
The Bills overtime
Yep.
game. Like
Man.
it began badly and it ended bad. It ended horribly, but it ended bizarrely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because to this day, if there's one fact I would like to know about the entire
And
Patrick Mahomes
what
era,
happened?
it's what happened the last play of the first half and what happened at halftime, because everything, like they went right before halftime. They were about to be up 18. Like they looked as good in that first half. Honestly, it's easy to forget this now, but I remember thinking at the time,
Yep.
the Chiefs right now are playing as well as I've ever seen them play in the first half of that game, and then they
Yep.
played as badly as I've ever seen them play with Patrick Mahomes in the second half.
Yeah.
So you could make that case. What I would say though, the reason why I will still pick with 2022, I'm assuming here we talk about health, like we're getting a healthy Patrick Mahomes. So that's
Yeah.
the only caveat I would have, because
Yeah.
while the Chiefs in the first half of that game against the Bengals had never looked better, the best I have ever seen Patrick Mahomes play, the absolute peak,
Yeah.
I think, of Patrick Mahomes'
Yep.
entire career,
I know what you're
the
saying.
first drive
Yeah.
against the Jaguars
Oh my God, it
in
was
the divisional round.
outrageous.
After like his, maybe his best season, like it's statistically his
Yeah.
best season is
God, it was so
2018,
good.
but 2022 was so close, and like against a league that had tried everything they could. And, he kind of emerged from that better than ever, right? 5,250 yards, 41 touchdowns against 12 interceptions.
Yeah.
He was probably a better runner, certainly a more opportunistic runner. He ran for 358 yards that year. That first drive against the Jaguars, I mean, it was hilarious because the Jaguars had a really good defense. Like they really had a good defense, and their defense played out of their mind on the opening drive of the first playoff game, and it didn't matter.
No.
It
No.
was,
They were lost.
it was an absolute freaking masterclass. And then the second drive to the playoffs, he's limping through it.
Yeah.
And limped all the way to, a revenge win against the Bengals and win against the Eagles, in which they gave up 35 points. I mean, so if you give me healthy Patrick Mahomes, that's the trump card over all of this. That he was just so good. And the defense was still really good too. So
Yeah.
I'm not picking the upset here.
No, and like again, you can make an argument for it. You can make an argument for any of these teams over any of the rest of these teams.
Correct.
Any given Sunday. I mean, like this 2021 team, even the worst team in our seeding, if they played 10 times, the 2022 team might go 7-3.
Right.
But they're not going to go 10. They might go 8-2, but they're not going to go 10-0. That 2021 team is going to take at least a couple of games off.
Austin,
if not maybe
Chiefs,
3 or 4.
If we did all of these matchups 10 times, literally every matchup would end 6-4. Every single one of them. I mean,
probably
they just don't. They don't have the.
And all the games would be with one score.
Yeah, exactly. And they would all drive us crazy. And it would, no matter who we're cheering for, it would take the whole game before we figured out that they were going to do it. Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of the Mahomes era. They have just been the ceiling has been high, but the floor is maybe more impressive than the ceiling for this team. I mean, obviously with the AFC Championship streak and all that stuff. So just to recap real quick, 5/4, which is 2025 over 2018, the 3 over the 6, 2020 over 2024, the 7 with the upset over the 2, which I love, 2023 over 2019, and then 2022 over 2021. We will get everything kind of re-teed up next time you're on the show, whenever that is, and we'll go through the second round, which is only going to be 2 matchups instead of 4. Maybe we'll just finish it out since the first one is about as long as the other rounds combined. But Rany, of course, as always, thank you so much for all of your time. Can't wait to catch up with you next time, and thank you for making me feel a lot better about the situation that happened in February, because it's been weighing on me. And I knew
about cashing out your retirement plan for
now he's gonna make you feel bad again.
I was gonna say we were going so good there, Rany, but in general, I knew it would feel better to get it off my chest, but we just had to take a little break from it. But we're back now. Can't wait to talk about the 2025 team, and have a good one, and we'll talk to you next time.
My pleasure, guys.